Hundreds gathered outside Northern Territory's Parliament House, their faces somber, voices hushed, as the community came together to mourn a young Warlpiri man whose life was tragically cut short in police custody. The vigil, held in Darwin, was a heartfelt tribute to Kumanjayi White, a 24-year-old man from Uendumu who died on May 27 after an incident at a supermarket in Alice Springs. The grief was palpable, woven through the crowd like a heavy fog. Kumanjayi White was not just another statistic. He was a young man who faced vulnerability every day. His family spoke openly about his disabilities and the fact that he was living away from his home community because he needed supported accommodation in Alice Springs. The community's pain was raw and deeply personal. The circumstances of his death remain under scrutiny. NT police said that plain-clothed officers responded after Mr. White allegedly assaulted a security guard who confronted him about shoplifting. But for many, this explanation is not enough. The calls for justice, transparency, and accountability grew louder as the vigil progressed. Warlpiri elders, Indigenous leaders, and justice advocates stood before the crowd, their voices thick with emotion as they spoke of loss and injustice. Carl Hampton, representing Mr. White's family and the Uendumu community, expressed the profound grief and mistrust felt by those closest to the tragedy. "There is no trust in the system," he said bluntly. He appealed directly to the chief minister, urging for courage and compassion in supporting an independent investigation. The crowd responded with thunderous applause and chants demanding that the police not be allowed to investigate themselves. The call for an independent inquiry resonated deeply, echoing long-standing concerns about police accountability and Indigenous deaths in custody. "Shame," rang out from the crowd as critics highlighted the ongoing failure to act on recommendations from the Royal Commission into Aboriginal deaths in custody. It was a stark reminder that this tragedy is part of a much larger, unresolved issue. Rodney Dillon, Amnesty International's Indigenous rights spokesperson, spoke of the profound grief this death had inflicted on the wider community. He stressed that without an independent inquiry, healing would remain out of reach for Mr. White's family and the many others affected by similar losses. "You can see there's no peace at the moment," he said. "Everyone's in a very sad state." Dillon's words underscored the urgent need for systemic change. "Until we can get a government that can sit down and have a fully independent inquiry into these deaths in custody, we will be doing the same thing," he warned. Jade Ritchie, spokesperson for Justice Not Jails, the organization that helped organize the vigil, made it clear that any investigation must be free from police involvement. "No police should be investigating police," she declared. She stressed the importance of complete independence and community-led oversight in addressing these issues. Ritchie emphasized that Indigenous communities hold their own solutions. "Solutions are held in communities like Uendumu. We just need to be heard," she said, highlighting the need for genuine listening and action. The vigil was not only a moment of mourning but a call to action. Justice Not Jails announced that this event marked the start of a national week of action in response to Mr. White's death. Vigils and protests are planned in cities across Australia in the coming days, signaling a nationwide demand for justice and reform. As the crowd held candles, flowers, and embraced each other, the shared grief became a shared resolve. The hope was clear, that Kumanjayi White's death would not be in vain, that it would spark meaningful change and accountability in a system too often criticized for failing Indigenous Australians. The night air was heavy with sorrow, but within the crowd, there was also strength. The voices of the community, the calls for justice, and the demand for respect echoed beyond the walls of Parliament, sending a message loud and clear: the fight for justice is far from over. Indigenous leaders reminded everyone that this tragedy is part of a painful history and ongoing struggle. They called on governments to listen, act, and honor their commitments to Indigenous people and communities. There was also a strong emphasis on the need for healing, not just for the family but for the entire community impacted by this loss and others like it. The emotional toll was clear in the tears of many, yet those tears also symbolized a powerful call for change. As the vigil came to a close, the resolve to continue the fight was palpable. Those gathered vowed to keep pushing for an independent investigation, to ensure transparency, and to demand accountability at every level. The call for justice for Kumanjayi White is not isolated. It's part of a national movement demanding an end to deaths in custody, an end to systemic racism, and an end to the marginalization of Indigenous voices. This vigil was a reminder that behind every headline and statistic is a human life, a family, a community in pain. It was a call to recognize the humanity of those lost and the urgent need to prevent future tragedies. The fight for justice is ongoing, and the community's voice remains loud and unwavering. Their demand is simple: truth, justice, and respect for Kumanjayi White and all Indigenous Australians. As the flames from candles flickered in the night, they symbolized hope that this moment of mourning will ignite lasting change across Australia. The memory of Kumanjayi White will not be forgotten. His death has sparked a movement, and his community will continue to fight for the justice he deserves. In the face of grief and injustice, the strength and resilience of the Warlpiri people and all Indigenous Australians shine brightly. The call for an independent inquiry is a call for justice, healing, and a future where Indigenous lives are valued and protected. This vigil marked a significant moment in the ongoing struggle for Indigenous rights and justice in Australia. The pain of loss is undeniable, but so is the power of community, solidarity, and the demand for change. As the nation watches, the hope is that governments will listen and act, not just with words, but with real, meaningful reforms. The fight continues, fueled by grief, love, and an unwavering commitment to justice for all. Kumanjayi White's story is a stark reminder of the urgent need to address systemic issues that plague Australia's justice system. His family's courage in speaking out shines a light on the failures that must be confronted. The community's grief is matched by their determination to ensure that such tragedies do not happen again. This vigil, this week of action, is a call to the nation: justice delayed is justice denied. It is a call to ensure police accountability and to break the cycle of Indigenous deaths in custody. It is a call to listen to Indigenous voices and to empower communities to lead solutions. The path to justice will be long and difficult, but the voices raised tonight make it clear: the journey must begin now. This moment is a powerful testament to the strength of community and the necessity of systemic change. As the candles burned low and the crowd slowly dispersed, the message remained clear: justice for Kumanjayi White, justice for all Indigenous Australians. This vigil was just the beginning. The fight continues. Across the country, fueled by hope, grief, and determination. The community calls on governments to act with courage, compassion, and integrity. Only then can true justice be served and healing begin. Kumanjayi White's legacy will live on through the voices of those who refuse to be silent. His death is a call to action, a call that must be answered. The night's vigil was a solemn reminder that the work to end Indigenous deaths in custody is far from over. And that justice, real justice, requires independent oversight, community involvement, and unwavering commitment. For Kumanjayi White, for his family, and for Indigenous communities everywhere, the call for justice will not fade. The crowd's voices may have quieted as the vigil ended, but their demand for change continues, loud and clear. This is more than a vigil. It is a movement that seeks justice, respect, and recognition for Indigenous lives in Australia. And it is a movement that will not stop until justice is delivered.